this is Keeper, and welcome back to On Air. I'm so glad you could join me. Last week, DirectSellingLive announced its list of the most powerful people in all direct selling, its annual Power 50 list. It has easily become the most prestigious list in all of direct selling, as anyone who is anyone in direct selling tries to make that list. As we look at the list that was most recently announced, there are some curious people that have made the list. So we're going to take a look at 6 of those most influentials and answer the question as to why they made the list. It's very important to note that last year there was a major shift in power, a major shift in influence as it related to direct selling. That in and of itself should tell you why these people or these influentials made the list. Also, at the end of the broadcast today, I'm going to have a very special commentary on when you become a journalist, when you become an investigative reporter, what do you give up in terms of friendships and those people that you have had relationships with? It's very interesting when you start to become unbiased and you begin to take a step back and take a 50,000-foot aerial view of everything. There are certain things that you give up, and it's very, very interesting. It answers the question as to why most media in direct selling are not unbiased. I will be right back.
No family can survive on 2 incomes anymore, let alone 1. If you are supplementing your family's income working from home, then tune into The Cash Flow Show, Direct Sales Radio. Host Deb Bixler brings you sales tips, lead generation systems, and best business practices that guarantee direct sales success. Whether you're looking for a little extra cash or a career change, The Cash Flow Show, Direct Sales Radio will give you proven systems that will work in your home business. The Cash Flow Show, every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time on World Talk Radio Variety.
Brian Tracy is one of my favorite authors. I just absolutely love listening to Brian Tracy. In fact, I love listening to a lot of people, from Brian Tracy to Les Brown. I certainly love listening to Randy Gage and Napoleon Hill, all of these guys. But if I had to pick one person who's just my absolute favorite, it would be Brian Tracy. In fact, Brian Tracy is one of these people I would just love to meet. I would love to have lunch or dinner with and just hang out with the guy. I just really like him so much. I love his delivery. I love his insights, which are always very, very keen. One of his CDs that I play religiously at least 3 times a week and have for the past 8 years is called Thinking Big. On this CD, he has a segment where he talks about when new things happen, when things happen that most people think are just random events, and the average person just thinks of it as, that's nice, that's interesting, and they just move on. Whereas the person with vision looks at it and says, there's something new going on. There's a shift taking place. I better pay attention to it, because if I don't, I may miss one of the biggest movements to ever happen. And it will be solely because I decided to just take a step back and say, that's interesting. That's very curious. I think one of those things happened last week when DirectSellingLive announced its Power 50. As we look at some of the individuals that made the list, it is easy to say, well, that person shouldn't be on the list. In fact, we have that every year. We always have those people who say, well, why didn't I make the list? I make all this money. I've done these many events. I've spoken in front of this many people, which has never been the main criteria anyway. In fact, the main criteria for making the Power 50 is, what is your power and influence in direct selling, and how does it transcend the industry? How does it move the industry forward? How do you step out of yourself in direct selling and be able to take your message or your influence beyond direct selling? The 6 influencers that we're going to look at on the Power 50 are Torrance Seabrook, the star of DirectSellingLive's The Recruit reality show. We're also going to take a look at DirectSellingLive's political bloggers. We're also going to take a look at Donald Trump. Those would be the people that we take a look at in the first segment. We're also going to look at the DeVos family and a couple of others that I think that you'll find very, very interesting. Because as you begin to look at power in direct selling, there's a major shift that's taking place. So let's start. Number 50, Torrance Seabrook. She's an 18-year-old Mary Kay distributor who's only been with Mary Kay for less than 3 months. And yet she's doing absolutely fantastic. She's really meeting her mark. She's reaching all of her numbers, reaching all of her goals that you would hope someone who really has the go-getter mentality would actually meet. She's done that. But one of the things that makes her a power player is the fact that she's the star of Direct Selling's very first reality show. It's very interesting when we look at what is popular, what is driving culture, not only here in the United States but abroad. Reality shows have just been driving things for a long time. No one in direct selling had ever come forward with a reality show. So DirectSellingLive created one, and they were initially looking to find someone in their 30s or in their 40s, but they ended up settling on an 18-year-old Mary Kay distributor. But so why does that make her a power player? Because it takes direct selling in a whole nother area. Imagine following someone around and watching that person go through what you go through every day. All the ups and downs, all the sadness, all the happiness, all of it. Watching this person go through rejection, watching this person making phone calls, watching this person go through training, watching this person just struggle with the internal question of, can I do this? Why am I doing this? It's an extremely powerful position. And from a direct selling standpoint, everyone in direct selling can stand back and take that 50,000-foot aerial view and say, wow, she's going through what I go through. That's power and that's influence. And anyone who denies that really doesn't understand what power and influence is really all about. So that's why Torrance Seabrooks, who was willing to be very vulnerable and come forward and let people see it, what she goes through, experience what she experiences, is a very powerful person. It begins to put direct selling in line with more cultural awareness, with more cultural events that are going on. And it helps broaden the conversation of who we are. It also allows for prospects to see what really happens with direct selling. So that is why Torrance Seabrooks made the Power 50, Torrance Seabrooks and The Recruit. Going on to number 49, the DirectSellingLive political bloggers. I think this is one of the more easier ones for me to explain. If we look at the political season looking back in 2008, we saw major shifts taking place. Major shifts that are unprecedented here in the United States and abroad when it comes to civil rights, when it comes to gay and lesbian rights. In fact, we're going to talk about gay and lesbian rights because Avon is one of the people we're going to talk about. They made the list because of their recent award by the Human Rights Foundations of being one of the best places to work for lesbians, gays, bisexuals, and transgenders. However, in looking at DirectSellingLive's political bloggers, DirectSellingLive is really pushing for direct selling to create a political voice. And the way to do that is to create a platform that allows you to speak, to comment, to read and watch what other people are doing. So as we see this major shift take place here politically and abroad, for direct selling to have those people who are willing to come forward and say, I represent this party, I am willing to blog for this party and ask you to comment and be willing to take on the chin whatever comments you throw at them, good or bad, is one thing. But to elevate the conversation politically of who we are, because there's no doubt about it, direct selling is a very large segment, voting block-wise, here in the United States and can create major change. This is why the DirectSellingLive political bloggers, Gene Bronstein, Kelly Foote, Ruth Webster of Soul Purpose Lifestyle Company, the distributor, and one of Avon's top distributors, Lisa Wilbur. This is why they make the list. DirectSellingLive Power 50, you could always come in with a month to go and create mega change, create mega power and influence. And if we look at Torrance Seabrooks and we look at DirectSellingLive's political bloggers, this is why. Speaking of political bloggers, we move on to Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump has started Trump Network. It's doing okay. It's moving along. But Donald Trump, because he's an owner of a direct selling business and also is a political figure and a major business figure, anything that he's attached to reflects on who we are in direct selling, good or bad. But whether it's good or bad is irrelevant. The fact is, he is in direct selling, And he obviously transcends what direct selling is all about as it relates to the Power 50 criteria. From a direct selling standpoint, this begins to give us another voice outside, or extend our voice outside of direct selling. And the more we do that, the more effective we can be, because we are better exposed. And we're not just depending on, say, the DSA to put out a marketing campaign that speaks only from their point of view. The more voices that we have that go beyond direct selling, the more people will begin to pay attention to not only who we are as companies and distributors, but more importantly, who we are as an industry, that we are a mega power. So you throw in Donald Trump, you throw in the Direct Selling Live political bloggers, and then you add to that mix of the first three that we're going to talk about, Direct Selling Live's first reality show. There's some serious power. And as I said in the beginning, there's a shift in power in direct selling. And when I say a shift, when you see the next three that we're going to talk about, it is hands down that power is really shifted here in direct selling. I'll be right back.
When my mother used to sell Princess House.
Joined them way that night.
Norma siempre vendía cosas de Avon.
Oh, it must have been around 1935.
But those knives were amazing.
The one lady's name was Mary Kay, and I said, oh, cosmetics will never sell on Party Plan.
Was a single mom and created these hair care products for black women and became the first self-made millionaire in the United States. I just think that's extraordinary.
Direct Selling Live announced its annual Power 50 last week, the 50 most powerful, most influential people. And in looking at the list, I'm sure a number of you have seen there were some newcomers to the list, which is always the case with Direct Selling Live's Power 50, because it's always based on what you did that calendar year. Anything you did prior is pretty much irrelevant. It's always what you've done that calendar year from January to into December, which allows a lot of flux in the power to shift during the year. That's why someone who could come on strong in the beginning of the year isn't always going to end up on the list, and people who weren't even on the radar in November can make the list in December because they may have brought something very, very serious to the table and really change the game, or really become a game changer. For instance, we saw the reigning Power 50 #1 the past 2 years, Andrea Jung, slip back to #9. We saw the DSWA co-founders, Grace and Nikki Kihoho, slip back a bit because some of the things that they went through. We also saw some new faces as it related to attorneys, Grimes and Reese step up. It's been a very interesting year, and as I said in the very first segment, you saw Torrance C. Brooks, the recruit, you saw Donald Trump and Direct Selling Live political bloggers, but let's look at a couple of others. The DSA's association in India made the list for the very first time. It's not so much because they are really a mega power player, but they came on in 2011 and really began to allow the DSA to move forward or extend their tentacles deep into India. Now, I know the DSA has had a foothold in there, but they started to really move forward in a big way, because India, as anyone who's paying attention to anything in terms of business or culture knows, that India is just a mega power. Granted, from a social economic standpoint, they have a ways to go, but the sheer number of people represents an opportunity for direct selling, I think, that could be even greater than what China offers. And so Direct Selling Association India makes the list. It is curious that the person in charge, Mr. Singh, is actually one of the top executives over at Amway, which is very interesting because Amway's DeVos family came in at #1, and we'll get into that in a few minutes. However, Direct Selling Association India represented, as I said, a major power shift in terms of opportunity and where direct selling can go. Next, we're going to talk about Avon. Now, Avon had a very challenging year, and I'm sure a number of people are very curious as to how Avon could make the list with the year that they had. CEO and Chairman Andrea Jung losing her CEO position, the international bribery scandal that broke really big in May of 2011, their stock plummeting 45%, but Avon came on at the very end of 2011 because they were awarded by the Human Rights Foundation as the best place to work for gays, lesbians, bisexuals, and transgenders. To my knowledge, no direct selling company has ever achieved that. And yet, the achievement of that is so monumental because it begins to open the door for the lesbian, gays, bisexual, and transgender community to really begin to look at direct selling, not only as employees of direct selling companies, but also begin to look at it as a place to become a distributor. Now keep in mind, in 2010, DirectSellingLive did the very first story on gays and lesbians in direct selling called Gays and Lesbians in Direct Selling, Kara Kowalski Story, which you can see on Direct Selling Live, where DirectSellingLive interviewed the very first distributor to come out, and she came out as a distributor on Direct Selling Live in this interview. She was then a prepaid legal distributor. Prepaid legal, boy oh boy, did they not give her any recognition whatsoever. Now I wonder if she had been with Avon, would that have changed? I tend to think it would have. Certainly in light of the fact that the Human Rights Foundation has just awarded Avon one of the best places to work for lesbians, gays, transgenders, and bisexuals, which is an extremely powerful position. It really begins to expand who we are here in direct selling and how the world views us. We have major props for Avon. Kudos. You know, anything you can think of, Avon came through with this, and it's really, really big. It's really big because hopefully we'll begin to have a better discussion and broaden the conversation on gays and lesbians, bisexuals, and transgenders here in direct selling because we really need it. Last, number one, the DeVos family. Anyone who's been paying attention politically knows that there are members of the DeVos family that are very entrenched when it comes to politics. Not only in Michigan, where Rich DeVos is very, very much just trying to, do his thing and go beyond. But you have Betsy DeVos as well, who is pushing for a lot of the school voucher programs around the United States. And now, just recently, the DeVos family, and Betsy DeVos in particular, has come out and said, yes, I will admit we are one of the largest soft money donors for the Republican Party. Now, whatever you think of their politics is pretty much irrelevant in this conversation. The fact remains that when you can have that much power in U.S. politics and you own the number 2 direct selling company in the world, you very easily become Direct Selling Live's Power 50 number 1. A lot of this for Direct Selling Live came into light last year. Really didn't know much about it. And as we began to look at politics and get Direct Selling Live political bloggers up and running, we've been doing a lot of investigating. And the DeVos family, it's a major, major power over there politically. And of course, whatever they do politically impacts us here in direct selling. They have a number of great foundations. They also are, the Orlando Magic, owners of the Orlando Magic, and a number of other foundations and entertainment and cultural centers around the United States. So this is why the DeVos family, not an individual, but the DeVos family came in at Direct Selling Live's Power 50 number 1. It's something to pay attention to because hopefully other owners and other people who are in power in direct selling begin to come out and make their positions known politically. Whether you agree with them or not, as I said, in this context, is pretty much irrelevant. But the fact is, when they do, it elevates who we are as a community, as an industry. When I come back, a really short commentary on what you give up when you begin to investigate and do unbiased reporting as a journalist or as a media company or individual here in direct selling. I'll be right back.
When my mother used to sell Princess House.
Join them way that night.
Norma siempre vendía cosas de Avon.
Oh, it must have been around 1935.
But those knives were amazing.
The one lady's name was Mary Kay, and I said, oh, cosmetics will never sell on party plan.
Was a single mom and created these hair care products for black women and became the first self-made millionaire in the United States. I just think that's extraordinary.
Just a quick commentary. Once I started on air, I knew I was going to have to give up some stuff, and primarily what I was going to have to give up were some pretty comfortable relationships, be it friends, those people who own associations or run associations, those people who are consultants and trainers, and even some people who are distributors. Because as you begin to report, you begin to realize not everything you say is going to be flattering, and it can't be if you're going to be unbiased and be as truthful as you can. We've certainly seen over on Direct Selling Live where we did some of the Avon stories where they had their troubles last year. There were people who were, kind of upset with me, and so that reflected on what Direct Selling Live's membership looked like. As some of the people from Avon fled Direct Selling Live from a member standpoint, others from other companies came on, and we're extremely happy that Direct Selling Live was a media that was not willing to kowtow to companies, associations, and those individuals who could impact them negatively in influence-wise. You give up a lot. You really do. You find out who people are, because as long as you're telling nice stories about people and associations and companies, they just love you to death. There's no doubt about it. They absolutely love you to death. But people are people. And what I know about people, if you say something negative about them, typically they want to cut you off. All of a sudden, what you say has no relevance, has no importance, which of course is not the case. In fact, it may mean you might have even more relevance and even more importance. But it's always interesting to see, because I, like a lot of people, tend to do the knee-jerk reaction as well. But if we're able to take a step back and say, okay, what's really going on here? Well, I can tell you what's really going on here. Not only stories being told, but Lisa Wilbur, a very dear friend of mine, when I told a story about Avon, and she's one of the top 5 people over at Avon, she probably put it best. She said, when you told your story about Avon, a number of people got upset. But this is how I looked at it, Keeper. I looked at it, what you did is you created news for Avon. And as a marketer, this is Lisa speaking, as a marketer, I know all news is good news, whether it's good or bad. If it's good, it lingers much longer. But if it's bad, at least you're in the news, and then within 2 weeks, most people are going to forget what was the bad part about it anyway. But at least we're in the news, and the more we keep our name in the news, the more people begin to realize we are relevant. There's something that is going on with us. So whatever story you have to tell about Avon, just let me know, and whatever I can come on air without getting my, without getting into too much trouble, I will definitely come on. But not everyone thinks that way, and it's kind of sad, But it does impact things. But I also know, as long as the bridges are not burned, people can always walk back across and do whatever healing needs to take place. That's my show for today. Remember, on Thursday, we have a very special guest. Dr. Steve Taubman will be in the house. He's got a new project that he wants to share with you that can get you mentally prepared for direct selling success and beyond in 2012. Have a great day, and see you tomorrow.